In this video, what I'm gonna show you is now to using these two files here, we will be building our AMI and then we will push it to our account. And as I said in my previous video, you see this one says that there is nothing in here. It's zero. It's gonna change after once we build and push our AMI. So let's go back to our command line. I'll clear my screen. And what we do here, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna change permissions on our provisioner bash shell script. And what we are specifically doing is just to make this bash shell script executable, meaning that the one who owns this file can run the script or execute the script. Once it's done, we are now going to validate. We're going to validate our JSON file. This is what Packer will need to build your AMI. So you use this command here to validate, and as you see here, the configuration is valid. The next thing we're gonna do is to build. So we're gonna build now our AMI using the AMI JSON file that we have written. So I'm gonna do that, and you're gonna see what you're looking at now. So first, it just follows the layout of our the JSON file, our AMI JSON file, because that's how it's gonna follow the order, and then you're gonna see some of these things that you don't have to really worry about, but keep watching until when you see this one here, this section of the of our process here. And what we're looking at, it's now waiting for the instance to stop. This is part of our provisioner, you see, but it's able to capture all of that. So everything that we have defined on our provisioner bash shell script, on our AMI JSON file. So that's what the system is using. And if you go to, let's go back here. If you go back here and you refresh, you're gonna see a change here. You see, instead of 0, now we have 1 here, meaning that we now have a customized AMI. We have a customized AMI. What we need to use for the next step is this AMI here, AMI ID. This AMI ID, we're gonna use it just like the same way you use the other AMIs. And I'm talking about anything here provided for you, all right? Or anything here, like the whole list of the AWS marketplace. But you also have yours. So you can either go here, click select. You see the top to your right here. To your right, you see you can launch instance with this AMI. Or you can create a template with AMI, meaning that you have a template that you can share across your accounts in your organization. So you can do that. But if you click launch instance with AMI, you're gonna then be taken to this here, to this page here. And when you get here, you'll be prompted to launch this manually, meaning that you go through every single step here. But instead of doing all of this, you can also automate this, right? And how do we do that? We use Terraform. Terraform is an infrastructure as code tool which can allow you to provision even a very complex infrastructure in just minutes. Like if you do manually here, you launch this instance manually, it may take you probably 5 to 10 minutes. But if you do it using Terraform, it's gonna take you probably less than a minute or 2 minutes. Let's you know what, let's test that. So we keep this way here, and we go to our command line. Everything is being set. We have this is our AMI, right? You're gonna have to copy it. So copy. And what we have here, if you use the tree command, you see web app create. This is where our Terraform scripts reside. You're gonna need to move into that directory. Okay, we're here, and in this directory you have two files. You have the EC2. This is the kind of like the main file, and this main file defines the provider that you want to use to where you're going to host your infrastructure. Then you have the resources that you're going to have to create. And to create the resource, you begin with resource, and then you add these properties here, and in the block, this is where you add parameters that you need to be using as part of this specific resource that you want to create. So we're gonna create a PAM key, which will allow us to SSH into our system from our local machine securely without using a password. So these resources will help us with that. And we want to store a key in our project environment. So it's gonna be in this location here. After that, we need to set up firewall. On AWS, you have security group, and that's how they call it on AWS. Then security group, you define the kind of ports that you want to open and the type of traffic you want to let in and out through that port. Like 22, that's for SSH, secure shell. And that for every port, you're gonna have to define the IP range of the systems that may be granted access to your application here or your system. And you do the same with the ingress. Ingress, that's incoming, like what's coming. And then egress, that's what's going out. That's outbound traffic. And inbound traffic, that's ingress here. All right, so you define that. And when you see a line beginning with data here, it means that it's pulling data from an existing resource, okay? In this case, we have the VPC, we have the subnet. And finally, we create our virtual machine or our instance on AWS. So that's what we do. But you're gonna see we have var. We have a lot of var here. We have a lot of var because we're gonna input values coming from a different place, so different resource or system you may have. So you define pretty much everything using this Terraform, and that's what we Terraform file. This is what we call the main file. Okay, so it defines everything, but it's gonna call on, as I said, on the values that you input on the variables file. So that's what we have this file here, and which makes it a little bit much easier, right? You don't have to change this for as long as the requirements do not change. The only thing that you need to change is this file. So let's go to that file. This is the file, the variables file. This is where you change this. You only change the default, like for the region that you use as part of your main file. Change the key name, AMI ID, and then in our case, we're gonna change this. If I take you here, let's go to our AMI here. So we're gonna need to use this ID, AMI ID. You're gonna have to copy go back to your command line, and we will nano the variables files here. Look for the key here, the AMI ID, I meant to say. You're gonna come here, and delete. Sorry about that, that was my alarm. You're gonna have to replace that with the desired AMI. You save the file, and that's pretty much done. I mean, you're done. I mean, this is not the best practice, the best way to do it, but it's just for the sake of the project. If you want to learn more about how to do it in a production or a work environment, then you're gonna need to click on the Terraform video on how you can configure your Terraform files the best way. But here, what we need to do, we're gonna need to initialize first. We will initialize, and we will plan. Usually I recommend validate, plan, and then apply. So you're gonna use the Terraform command, then you add these options here. I'm gonna show you how to do this in the final video in this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.